Let's see.
So while Chris is doing that, I'll welcome everybody to episode 3 of Nerd Side of the Ring. Right now, you got myself, Mike, Jesse, and Chris, the man in the chair, with the cats. So I feel as if last night was a success at Free Play Richardson, having Wednesday Night Wrestling. In spite of my displeasure with the best friends and AEW show last night as a whole, I think the event for what it was a success.
What's the heat with the best friends? I've seen this. What's going on?
I'm not a Chuck Taylor guy. I've followed his career the last 10 years, and just if there was ever a generic wrestler number one, it would be Chuck Taylor.
The creator wrestler.
He's the stock person that you practice all your moves on in the demo mode. That's Chuck Taylor.
He's the guy that they just put you against so you can create your sequence.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
awesome.
that's my thing with Chuck Taylor. I've never. All in all, people who know him personally say he's a wonderful human being, but as a wrestler, I just can't stand him. I don't know. Maybe it's his face. He has a very punchable face. Shout out to LAX for destroying the best friend's mom's car last night.
Yeah.
Leaving it up on blocks like they would do back in the Bronx, which made me very happy.
Yeah, dude. That's what.
Oh man.
That's what Mike B calls the scrap shop.
No, we call it the chop. We call that this
Chop
chop
shop.
down here. Yeah. Oh man.
All right, so he ceded part of his time to you, Mike. So
No,
Yeah.
I mean,
we have.
I'd hate to
Gory
destroy the
Midori.
momentum we're building right now for wrestling talk, but
Well, it's fine. If it's the word of the day, I'm all for vocabulary.
There's kids watching, Mike.
Yeah, we gotta teach. We can't just
gotta
teach
be
the
all
kids.
chuckles here.
We can't just let
All right, let me get this over with,
It
then,
is
so we
time
can
for
get
the
on
Gory
to the
Midori.
better stuff.
Dr. Angela Beard, vocabulary word of the day, as read by our vocabulary expert, Michael Beltran. Go for it.
Okay, we have a noun, and this word is nadir. Yeah, nadir.
Nadir.
Okay.
Nadir. Close.
Yeah.
Very, very close. It's
Nadir.
only 5 letters. N-A-D-I-R.
Can you spell it? Can you
Yeah.
use it in a sentence, Mike?
Let's see here. There's a definition. The point of the celestial sphere that is directly opposite the zenith and vertically downward from the observer.
So what you're saying is Mike B.
Observe
News
this, brother.
could not get any lower than this point you have brought us to right now.
The lowest point. Hey, you wanted me to read this? I'm reading it. You wanted to disrupt the flow we're doing for wrestling talk?
I
doing
enjoyed
it.
that. I
So-
liked it. It's fine.
So
Observe this,
that-
brother.
So yeah, that is, you put this all on Chris.
By the way, that's today's
Oh, look.
episode title. I got your nadir right here. I think is a good episode title. So
There's even an illustration of it in this
Come
dictionary here. Cool.
Come from Mike
Hey,
B.
we
Stay for the nadir.
Yeah,
We
but
don't-
it is the lowest point. Also, second definition, the lowest point. So, there you go.
Yeah. So thanks for that. Thank you to Gory Midori and aka Dr. Angela Beard, our
Dude,
doctor of clinical psychology that joined us like every day at 6:30 for like 100. It was great.
Dude, I really don't like Boat Guy being front and center of the damn stream like that.
You want it to be you or what?
No,
Anything
anything.
can do
I'd rather be
amazing
nothing.
things.
Oh man, no, that's perfect.
so
actually.
last night we all watched AEW, and I want y'all know my thoughts. So I'm not going to be the grumpy, salty guy about it. So I want to hear some positives from last night's AEW Dynamite.
Jesse.
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
I thought the main event was awesome. It was a really cool story for
What
a
is
second there.
Chalba
I'm
doing
like,
in the chat? Get in here. You're a host.
I think the main event was awesome. It really just shows like Darby like banging his head against the wall. Kind of seems to be his character. And then I love like John Moxley doing the promo saying like, yeah, I used to do exactly what you're doing. It either leads to good stuff or bad stuff, but but either way, you know, when you sign the contract to be an AEW person, you're another guy. You're coming after my title. I'm gonna have to end you. It was really cool, and him holding him like like his child who just got ran over by a car at the end was pretty cool. I really liked the main event, and the the prospect of Sammy versus Matt Hardy, I think that was just a little taste of what their match is going to be like. I'm sure it's going to be at All Out. I think Matt Hardy is going to put him over like $1 million, and I think they're going to have a really awesome match. And Sammy deserves it. It's going to be his first real program, I think.
Away from the inner circle, right?
Yeah. I think like a program that's like for him, like like specifically targeted towards him. I think it's gonna be cool. Yeah. It was
About you, Mike?
I want to hear what Mike has to say.
He wasn't watching. His review is Tiger.
He was too busy posing with the IC title last night.
Yeah, that's what he was doing.
Taking selfies with his own title.
Belt guy. We have a boat guy and a belt guy. That's great.
There you go.
Oh, Chris, you since now you're kind of being slowly immersed back into wrestling now.
Yes.
What did you think last night after watching AEW's contribution to the wrestling world?
So I watched. I wish I could say I was able to pay rapt attention to every single moment of it. I was not. I watched. Basically, I saw the first match, which was a mini team tag team match, which was very confusing to watch for me. Like I couldn't follow the action because there was so much of it. I mean, I wasn't not a fan, but wow, that was a lot.
Hello.
Hey, Mike.
He's back.
I don't know. So I'm just getting back into it, right? So I'm looking at all these people, and I'm not understanding who they are. That match in particular was really confusing for me. Now, I had Jesse there, and I had you there to kind of explain this guy is this guy, and this guy is this guy. But, like, with that many people in the ring at the same time with all different, typically tag teams, like, have, like, the Road Warriors here of Hawk and Animal. There we go. There we go. Right? They match in some way. I couldn't tell who was on what team, what the format was. I was really confused by that. Not that wrestling wants to stick to the rules at all times anyway. But the physicality of it was there, like it always was. I enjoyed the lack of the WWE camera angles. So I got to kind of see some action, and the fact that these are sports entertainers who are quite athletic and do their moves.
Sports entertainers.
Yeah, no, I got to enjoy just a wrestling match, not knowing, what's going to happen. I had nothing to bring into it, so I didn't look at it and be like, well, this is clearly what's going to happen at this point because we got to wait for the pay-per-view. No, I just enjoyed it, and I did enjoy it. The other thing I watched was the last bit of the debate, which was definitely the highlight for me. It was weird, but the debate between, was it Chris Jericho and somebody who had inspired me to put my hand in my pocket right now.
Orange Cassidy.
It works on a subconscious level.
Right. And I really enjoy Chris Jericho was great on the mic, as he has been since I did watch wrestling before. And what really stuck with me was how surreal it looked to see Eric Bischoff in any kind of like regal. Yeah. He was the what do you call it? He was the
moderator.
The moderator of the debate. It was insane, and it was entertaining. Definitely not wrestling. And then I saw Matt Hardy's match. So we should probably just go into that later whenever we get into that, if we're going to go it that way.
I would argue that the debate was probably the most wrestling part of the whole show.
Was it? I don't know, man.
Yeah, it was the most carny part of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a difference depending on what your definition of wrestling is. There's wrestling, and then there's wrestling.
Right. I mean, like I like the physicality of the first match that I saw, the massive tag team match. I was just confused a lot, and there was definitely an element of like, am I watching wrestling or synchronized swimming? Because they're doing like triple suplexes and stuff like that, and the level of coordination doesn't really make me think it's a fight in any way. Which, whatever. I'm also watching a political debate in a wrestling ring too. So like it can go off the rails. I like when things go off the rails some, but like that's a very on the rails thing with all the coordination there.
So, Chris, did you see the last match?
I don't think so. What was it?
Well, I don't know if you know the guys, but it's pretty much the final match.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I mean, I only mention it because like one of the things that I like about AEW is that the Young Bucks. That's one of the big criticisms that people have with like the Bucks is that they do have a lot of these. You can kind of tell a lot of these like premeditated spots. But then you have some people that I really like for the opposite reason, like their champion that was in the main event, Moxley. A lot of his stuff seems more fights and not less like choreographed things. And that was I like when they focus whenever they come down to it, they focus. I like when they focus on like a one-on-one fight. I've always liked the one-on-ones, unless it's like a straight up tag team. I still like mostly one-on-ones. I'm not a big fan of big multi-man matches. And the opening match for last night, it was mostly to further a story between two tag teams that were on the same team. But yeah, like when they do super multi-man stuff, it does become like harder to follow. But you know, it sort of dilutes it a little bit. But right now,
I have
I
a
think
weird perspective as I am coming in blind. Like I understand
Yeah.
if you're a big AEW fan or even a casual wrestling fan, you probably know who all of them are and who's on what team is pretty obvious. But for me, it was just a bunch of shirtless dudes that were likely choices for Mike B to pick in a fighting game.
pretty much.
Particularly the Young Bucks. I feel as if like Mike would pick the Young Bucks for a fighting game with their jeggings and their headbands.
Yeah.
Did you want me to go into my thoughts on the Matt Hardy match, or do you want me to say that for later?
No, sure. Go ahead, Chris.
So he came out there. Now I'm a fan of his from way back before everything. So it was he's doing his non-character character now, which was fine. I understand it's part of a longer story, and he'll get back to insanity when he gets back to insanity. I like the idea of the multiverse of Matt Hardy. That's insane, and I love insanity. So I was all for that, and then the match. It's not even a match, right? It's just a call out and then an attack, and basically what is it, like a hardcore match, if you will.
Yeah. It technically wasn't a match. It was like a segment. And they just ended in physicality.
Right. Yeah, and it ended with a pretty significant like bloodletting, blading incident on a table with a chair. And as we've talked before, I'm not the biggest fan of that, and I wasn't here. It's just not for me. I get to this part of wrestling, and I anytime I see somebody like lying prone on a table for that long like that, it makes I wasn't terribly squeamish at it last night, but like he's lying on a table. I'm like, oh, Matt must be like taking a razor blade to himself. Like this is. I hate to say this about somebody that I enjoy their work, bleeding profusely on the floor. I was bored. I don't know how to like deal with that, like that disconnect. I'm either squeamish about it, or I understand what's happening and then I'm bored by it. So, and that's awful because someone that I kind of care about as an entertainer is bleeding all over the place for my entertainment, and there's a big disconnect there, and I don't know what to do with it.
Well, blood is not as common now, so when we get to see it, we're like, yay! So I like to see a little bit of color now and then.
Uh-huh.
It's a big almost like a taboo, and that's what AEW goes for because
the tax were like a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the tax are always fucking amazing. It adds to them. It enhances the match. But the color, the color, blood is color, right? Mm-hmm. So we've been like a decade without it, and it was always a big part of wrestling. It just adds to the rivalry, adds to the feud, and to me, just seeing it is like. It's kind of it's old school because it was done before. I mean, and WWE, like I said, no more, and AEW says this is not
way more.
this is not sports entertainment. This is professional wrestling.
I think a lot of it for me comes down to imagery. I think like what I saw last night, and I see, when I knew Sammy was going to come out and like attack him, but I didn't know he was going to like smack, like completely thwack him with the chair like that.
I want to say that chair throw and selling by Matt was solid. That was really cool. Like
I was expecting him to just set up the table and then do like a spot. I was not expecting him to grab that chair and just like send it through his face.
Bret
that was
Hart,
the hardest chair shot I've ever seen. I mean, he just chucked it at him. It was. I don't know how they pulled that off, but they definitely sold it. It looked like he got crushed with a chair.
Well, the rumor is that wasn't a planned spot. Sammy just did it.
Yeah.
And that's why it just caught basically Matt Hardy off guard and it cut him real bad.
I don't know about that for a moment.
So like typically whenever it's like like an older guy like Matt Hardy versus like Sammy, you typically the older guy says, go out there and like pretty much fuck me up, like make me look, make yourself look
good. The spots. Yeah.
Get your stuff in, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But to me, like whenever like they blade or they bleed, like it's just more imagery, so that clearly they're signaling that this feud is going to be like really like bad in terms of like it's going to get physical, especially the match. I'm sure the match is going to be a stipulation match, like a tables or a no rules match or whatever.
$7,000 obligation match.
I just love the name of that.
That's so weird.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
An obligation match. That's what I want to have with Mike B, like a $7,000 obligation match. First and 10.
What was funny back in the day, like with me and Willow's younger brother, like we would, do the backyard wrestling and stuff like that. And one time we did cut a promo where we had a match because I owed him $5. Like that was the basis of it. And now, like it actually happened.
40 tokens at the arcade match.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's happening right now. Obligation match. And I was like, man, it's come full circle,
Oh yeah, gas station nachos match. I love it.
Yeah. That is definitely not a match we need to be having. Gas station nachos at like 4 a.m. No.
No matter who wins, we all lose.
We all lose at that point. Carlos, since you came in a little later than when the topic started, aside from blood, what else about AEW's presentation last night kind of stood out to you and makes you want to keep coming back to it as a fan?
I don't know, man. They're doing a lot of stuff that like. I'm also a big fan of like a promo, and then Chris Jericho is hilarious. Chris Jericho keeps evolving. I think he's one of the greats ever. And yesterday, him and Orange Cassidy, the debate sounded dumb on paper, but when it actually happened, it was very entertaining. So, and I like that a lot. I like how Chris Jericho can just talk, and he's talking, he's at the same time the guy that he's talking about, he's kind of still putting him over in a bit, and it makes it interesting. So I thought the Jamba Juice promo was amazing.
That's the line of the night. And I'm not gonna give you a tip.
And I'm not gonna give you a tip. Yeah, it was awesome. And then the thing that he keeps bringing the jacket, the $7,000 jacket, is hilarious.
Jericho has a really weird history with overpaying for jackets for some odd reason.
Yeah.
$10,000 coat, $15,000 jacket, $7,000 jacket.
His vest.
Who gives him this budget?
That old glitter vest that got torn.
Yeah. Well, he's doing that. Remember that Ric Flair promo when Ric Flair's talking about how much his suit costs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, this is why this one costs $1,000. That's why that costs $300. And then he pointed to was it Tony Schiavone that was interviewing him? He's like,
Yeah.
And I don't know how much that one costs. I'd be too ashamed to wear it.
I think that's what AEW is getting right. Is you're starting to see now. You're mixing the old guys, mixing with the newer up and comers. That, let's be honest, most of them wouldn't have gotten a sniff if they were in WWE's system. So I think that is the right way to go about it. You take these well-known commodities, these well-known names from either the Attitude Era, WCW, WWF back in the day, and you pair them up with these young pups, as it were, and thusly giving them a shine or a rub, as the term goes, where you're thinking, Nick the Snake Roberts is managing Lance Archer. You have nothing's going to save Ty Dillinger. I don't really care, but Tully Blanchard's with the guy formerly known as Ty Dillinger, we call the 10 guy, and then now you have the woo guy in Matt Cardona, and before it becomes an episode of Cody and Friends, because that's what sometimes it seems like. I'm intrigued as to how are they going to balance these new signees versus the people they already have part of the company. And again, don't even get me started on the women's division or lack thereof. I just think when you have Hikaru Shida, the damn champion, in the crowd as opposed to wrestling a match.
They need to have more representation in that area over there.
Yeah, that was definitely the low point of the show that I saw was just the women's match.
Well, like I would think that the women's champion should be like the main women's storyline, and it seems if you didn't know any better, you would think that Britt Baker is like the women's champion because she's on, she's there every week and she's like the most built up in terms of character. It's like the champion should be the main storyline for the division that they're in my opinion. And I know everybody, I'm pretty sure we all agree on that.
But also I want to say about because I told Chris about like the inner circle and this and that, like seeing. What I like about AEW also, the factions here and there, most of them, except for like Dark Order, right? Because there's like 10 motherfuckers in there. But like for most of them, they all have their own separate storylines, and it kind of reminds me of like The Nation and DX. Even though it was like faction versus faction, you still knew who D'Lo Brown was going against X-Pac. The New Age Outlaws were going, they had their own storylines, and if you didn't know, you wouldn't know that they were part of a faction, especially for like the inner circle, because Sammy's doing his thing, Santana Ortiz, my boys, they're doing their thing, Chris Jericho's doing their thing, and that's what I like about AEW also is the factions are they all have their own storylines. Sometimes you don't see them together, but they come back together. But yes, the women's division in AEW is not
doesn't really exist.
Yeah, you wouldn't know, like if you're a casual fan, you wouldn't know who's who in the women's division. Big Swole though.
Oh yeah, aside from Big Swole, running her feud with Britt Baker and Nyla Rose recently being teamed up with Vicky Guerrero. And the women's tag team tournament is now being pushed to YouTube. They're not really putting anything into it. You have a 2-hour show, and you barely have enough time for a 5-minute women's match. Even though Reba, as they call her, but her name is Rebel, or Tania, is a professional wrestler, still a 5-minute squash, 2 hours. I'm sorry. You could put a presidential debate for 15 minutes. You can have MJF spout off for 10 minutes, but you can't have a 10-minute women's match when you actually have people on the roster who actually can work. And I know Mike brought this point up last week about injuries, to Statlander, who was someone that they were kind of building around. And some of the Joshi wrestlers still can't fly in because of travel restrictions. So they're just making do with what they got. So you have these people being brought in like Abaddon, Anna Jay. Christy James came in for a cup of coffee on AEW Dark. There's still something missing, and I don't know what it is. It might be because a lot of the women's wrestlers they brought on they went straight from the indies to AEW, whereas WWE, on the other hand, has the Performance Center and NXT. So they're ready for the camera in that realm. As opposed to, I've been just working the indie circuit for 5 years or 3 years, and now I'm out in front, not knowing really where the hard cam is. So I think that's the main issue I'm seeing in the presentation of the women's division for AEW.
I think the biggest, like you said, there's something missing. And to me, the biggest glaring thing that's missing is that there's no main storyline. And as I mentioned, that in my opinion, the champion, if you're the women's champion, you should be the main storyline, and there is no main storyline. So that's how can you have like other storylines if you don't have a main one? You know, it's like
Yeah. I want to add to Damien's point also. It's like, hey, AEW is more of a like. Of course, there's very good talent there, but it's like very raw talent. And then WWE, as much as you want to hate it or this and that, or say whatever, is very polished. So yeah, and then I cannot say enough about the women's division in WWE. That's where it's at. The main event, Sasha Bailey, by the way.
I can't
Get
wait
in
to
there.
see it.
Get in there, Mike.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, yeah. To what Damien said, I mean, they have the performance center and all these things, and like, you know, that their roster's kind of shallow right now. They don't have like a deep roster, and you know, like with the injuries that's happened too, you know, Statlander and all that other stuff. Like, you know, they're trying to bring in other people who aren't quite ready, and you know, all this other stuff, and you know that they need to build up more of a, you know, talent pool, and they just don't have, you know, they don't have that right now. Where, you know, otherwise it's just going to be, you know, Nyla Rose every week squashing everybody, you know, or something like that. You know,
You mean you don't want to watch that?
I mean, I don't mind it. It's fun, you know, but I mean that you don't have anything else now to,
right.
you know, go with it. You know what I mean?
From my,
You know, like
what I would love. What? Oh, go ahead.
No. I'm just gonna say you have the salt. You got to have the pepper too.
Your beard.
What?
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
That's a
It
good
all
stop.
comes
Yeah.
back to his hair.
That's right.
I thought Beltran liked his chicken bland, so I'm
Yeah.
surprised he's mentioned seasoning.
Oh my god.
Jesse, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say like I do appreciate women's wrestling. It is not my preferred like wrestling, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have a spot. Like Damien said, you got a 2-hour show. There's no way in hell you can't put in like a real multiple storylines for the women. Like there's no reason not to. For me, it looks like such the women's division at AEW, and I say this as a fan of AEW, the women's division is so desolate that I would actually say, like, you know what you guys should do? Put the women's division on a maybe like a 2-3 week hiatus, and then come back when you have something ready for all of them, so you can begin and just like kind of just kind of get on the right foot. You know what I mean? Have some storylines, have something ready, but you know, having nothing and preparing for something is better than just like having a squash match or having something random happening, because it's like I'd rather see nothing than crap than like a bad, you know, booking of it.
Yeah, I'm actually.
So just take your time. Just take your time. Take a step back. Take your time. Come up with some good storylines for the women.
Yeah.
Bring the people that you need to bring in. Have them train. Put them on dark. You know, have the people in like Carlito said, the people who are very raw or very new, put them on dark. You know, showcase them. That way they're not on the main show, but you're getting them ready for that. And once you're ready to launch a good storyline, bring them back in full force and come back on the right step, because it just seems so empty with it.
Yeah, and I want to add to that with the Nyla Rose squash matches. I don't mind having a monster squashing people, but there's no point in having a monster squashing people if there's nothing on the other side of that, you know?
Right.
So, like, let's say, you know, like when Braun Strowman was squashing people, there's a champion on the other side, right? And of course, the storylines or whatever in WWE were SHIT. But anyways, you know what I'm saying is
Superhero in training.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a callback.
R.I.P. But anyway,
Yep.
but there's something at the other side, and people can kind of like, oh, he's doing this and that because, you know, first of all, like, let's say like my favorite wrestler ever, Razor Ramon, the bad guy. Anyways, his first match was a squash, right? And it meant something, right? And back then also like old school WWF Federation, you didn't have superstars face each other. You had like superstars have squashes, and then when the main show came, they would face each other, and it meant something because you seen them like, fucking up jobbers or whatever. Excuse my language. And then now when you see them together, actually like going against each other. You're like, oh man, this is not really happening. This is exciting.
Because we were made to anticipate growing up. There was only 4 pay-per-views a year back in the day, and then we only had Saturday night's main event for WWF on regular channel, or Wrestling Challenge, or WWF Superstars. To Carlos's point about just established guys, jobbers. You slowly build up to jobber to the stars established guy against up and coming established guy. And then thusly you have Hogan feuding with whomever, and then Hogan squashes them, and then they're back down the card. So it was a tried and true formula. Now we're in the age of social media. We are in the age of wrestling on network television again. And now there's a pay-per-view every month. Don't have that anticipation anymore. You literally have people throwing crap against the wall, which we'll get to in a second, and seeing sticks. You got underground pit fights happening now on WWE programming.
Oh, here we go.
Can we please
Here we
get to
go.
that? That's what I woke up
I'm
for
going to get to that. So now we're in this new vein of now we have to entertain and not just build up. We have to give the people what they want because they need the dopamine fix. So here you go, WWE. You started a Fight Club. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon finally got around to watching the movie Fight Club, and he thought it was cool.
No, they did a Fight Club earlier, and it ruined Dr. Death's career. But
Well, that wasn't
Brawl
actual
for
fight.
all.
That was more
Yeah.
Box Club.
Yeah,
no,
boxing club.
that was a semi-UFC club.
Was
So
it?
Chris,
He
if
had
you
more
don't know, WWE tried this week to do their own version of Def Jam Vendetta
my God,
with
what?
pit fights
Yeah,
in dungeons.
course.
Yeah, it's called WWE Underground,
That's so
and
much crazier than I
it's
thought.
underground fighting. It's underground
It-
fighting.
It was
So
nowhere near as cool as you think, Chris.
Wait,
no,
this
it is not.
this
There
is the
there
new
was
story, or
girls
are you talking about
dancing.
the past mistakes, current mistakes, or past mistakes? Are we talking about here?
Both.
Both. Well, Beltran's very excited for no reason. He thinks Bart Gunn is gonna come back.
Lord God. Oh my God.
let's get everybody's opinion really quick. So Chris, you didn't see it, so let me ask you first. Just hearing off of my description, are you
Yeah.
intrigued to check this out now, or are you just thinking,
No.
what in the hell are they doing?
No, I am intrigued for the YouTube lowlights that will be compiled in about 3 months.
And real quick, Damien, there you have the new wrestling fan. I want to see how bad is it going to get.
Right. That's,
You know, my
That-
friends are
you-
exactly the same. That's the reason I say that.
That is my honest reaction to what you just said. That sounds awful. I am interested in the train wreck, but I want you to go ahead and compile the train wreck because I don't want to spend my time watching it. So I'll when you link me to the 12-minute video of what all disasters happen and careers are ruined, then I'll have a 12-minute chuckle and move on.
Yeah, no, really, it was like it's definitely different. They're definitely trying to throw something against the wall. And I was like, man, what is this? And then all of a sudden, the wild camera angles just started going everywhere, and like
It was
it was hard for me to keep up what was actually on screen. Like, okay, at first I was like, oh, are they actually going to shoot fight in this little thing here? Or no, they're not. But I don't know what they're going to do with it. I don't know what their end game is on it. Like, I don't know if they're going to have some of their wrestlers, I guess, quote unquote, compete on it and just kind of, you know,
Well,
these are all just all worked shoots or whatever. But
Being portrayed as a shoot fight.
say it again.
It's being portrayed as a shoot fight.
I mean, yeah, that they're portraying it as such, but like, it's obviously not, and they're all
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
So, what's the end game on it? Are they going to make another title for this, or
That's
you know,
my
what?
question.
You know,
So
what's
here's
the end
something
game
I
here?
brought up earlier this week regarding what's the end game. I personally think this is a new way to refresh old talent that's gone stale. For instance, the Viking Raiders, they were doing bowling skits about a month and a half ago.
Yeah,
You know, they were talking like two bros going bowling when they're supposed to be badasses. Now they're in this pit fighting. Now it's believable that, okay, these are the guys we brought in from New Japan, War Machine, and now I can believe that they're going to whoop someone's behind. Another person I noticed from the other day, which I didn't expect to see him in a pit fight, was Dolph Ziggler. I am tired of Dolph Ziggler getting random title shots just because he's been there for a participation award for 15 years. And I deserve it because I've been here 20 years and I haven't been fired yet. So he won a pit fight. And then at the end of it, you have the Hurt Business, which is some people are calling Nation of Domination 2.0. I'm calling it the Def Jam Vendetta crew because they were in suits fighting people, which I really appreciated.
I liked it.
Chris, yes, Shelton Benjamin, I feel could be revitalized for this. Bobby Lashley is an MMA fighter. And MVP just talks a lot of crap on the microphone. So I think they fit in perfectly what this is trying to do. And I think what this also gives for me was, I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, we had WMAC Masters, which was that really horrible Saturday campy martial arts competition show.
Starring Ho Sung Pak of Mortal Kombat. Like,
man. Yeah, I remember that.
He played Shang Tsung and Liu Kang of Mortal Kombat, yes.
So that is what I got from it. So it's a mix between that, it's a mix between Def Jam and Pit Fighter, and I think that's what we have with Raw Underground.
So I want to put Mike B on the spot real quick.
I feel high. Mike, am I in Mount Beltran? What is going on?
Well,
not yet. Not yet, but yeah, that. Well, real quick, just as far as the rest of Raw, I was actually pleased with the rest of the show this past Monday. The past few weeks have been pretty rough. This week's show actually had stability on each of their storylines they were portraying, which is still building up to more stuff. Like, it was actually a good pace. Everything was kind of timed out perfectly. This week's show was actually pretty good. They had some good promos cut. I mean, it was actually an overall good pace show. And then Raw Underground happened and kind of made me scratch myself.
I think the Raw Underground really is what everybody came out of. I didn't watch. I mean, I don't watch weekly anymore. But I heard about it. My friend immediately told me about it, and he never really tells me anything about Raw stuff. So the fact that he felt the need to share it goes for something, I guess, But I felt like that's what everybody was talking about when the show was done.
Yeah, everyone was talking about it, which is what we're doing right now.
But I have to ask my B something.
Okay.
Since I know he's has a great mind for wrestling. What was the strippers for?
What were the strippers for?
Yeah, they're okay. Yeah, Chris. Also,
that's not a question to ask. You
it was risque dancing, Chris.
Yeah,
you know why they're there, and you accept it.
Yeah,
it's just
off to the side were three girls dancing. Yeah, pole dancing basically on a little stage, and they would
in the
cut to
underground
them.
segment.
Yeah,
yes.
and during the underground segment, and they would cut to them and
randomly
see them move. Yeah, randomly
in the middle of the fight. They're fighting, and for every 10 camera cuts, 2 of them were to the girls pole dancing during the fight.
Yeah.
Some say randomly, others say on time.
I'm just whenever I saw the stripper pole dancing women, they weren't stripping, but they were pole dancing. Come on, it's the same thing. And when I saw it, I'm like,
maybe, but not really.
It really just comes off as somebody trying to make this as edgy as possible. It's like, how can we make this really TV? Like, people want attitude era stuff. What did the attitude era have? More dirty or cringy or whatever, slightly more physicality, and it had women too, women in skimpy clothing too. Just put that in there, but put it to the side. It's got to be there.
Well, if you wanted to be edgy, you can have a Asian man with a sword cut a kielbasa and yell, "I'm gonna cut off your pee-pee." That's edgy.
That's for next Monday.
Yeah. That's next. We're leading up to that.
When Tozawa shows up with the ninjas.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, it all works out.
Indeed.
You want to know what that reminded me of? As soon as I saw those girls,
your
Dream expose.
Shotgun Saturday Night.
Oh yeah,
because they had them there too.
On midnight.
Yeah, midnight. There was a real brief wrestling show by WWF. When was it? 97, 98, something like that.
98.
Yeah. That was it. Shotgun Saturday Night, Chris, where midnight on Saturdays there would be a quick 1 hour show, or how long was it? 30 minutes maybe? I don't know, but
It was an hour, but it was
Yeah.
it was
It-
either
it
at a
was kind of
club, the Hard Rock, or
Yeah.
in Times Square.
Yeah. The Hard Rock Cafe, Chris. Imagine that.
It's all surreal. This whole thing is washed
Hey.
over me, and it's very surreal.
By the way, is that where was Shotgun? Was that where Undertaker and Triple H wrestled in
Yeah.
the mall?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where Undertaker made his entrance through the escalator. I still think that's hilarious.
He descended.
but no, it was
What
at
decade are we talking
Penn-
about?
It was at Penn Station, right? Wasn't it?
In station. Mhm.
Yeah, it was at Penn Station. Yeah, Penn Station, where
Yeah.
the subways are. And stuff
I think
like
Chris
that.
just does this podcast to laugh at wrestling fans.
Yeah,
No,
he's
no.
secretly
Look,
laughing at us right now.
Look,
He's like, what the fuck are
look,
y'all
I'm
talking
here,
Yeah.
so that means I'm a part of it, and I'm taking participating in all earnestness, and like things like I was talking about with the blading and all this stuff. Like I
Yeah.
know I've watched wrestling in my past, right? I understand like there's cultural aspects of wrestling, and there's real parts and there's not real part, and it's all okay. I'm trying to take an objective nerd side of the ring view of it all, so I'm not turned totally off by it, other than like that sounds atrocious what you guys just described.
I want you to watch it. I want
It
Chris to
sounds-
watch it.
again the YouTube lowlights compiled in however many months sound hilariously entertaining about
'Cause
what we're thinking.
I know Chris has complained even to me about how he really doesn't like the camera cuts, WWE camera cuts.
Mhm.
It's like if you love camera cuts, you're gonna love Raw Underground.
Yeah.
It's really it's something. But
You know what was weird is the Jerry was watching with us, or on and off, and his immediate reaction to AEW was, man, these guys sure seem slow compared to the WWE, and I couldn't believe he said it, but I know what he was referring to. It was just he was used to the camera cuts, so the fact that the camera was
Yeah.
kind of lingering a little bit made him think that these guys were, I don't know, Sportatorium era wrestlers who were engaging in a 4-minute long headlock.
Oh God, we don't even want to wrestle. Jeez.
Oh,
But to Mike's point, Raw actually was decent. It was decent this week. The feud that they're building up between Randy Orton and who's still around also, and Drew McIntyre, I think it's a really good main event feud for SummerSlam. The women again, Sasha and Bailey are A1 plus with Asuka A2. I honestly believe the women's division in WWE is right above Impact's women's division in terms of pure talent on the roster. And I'm glad that in the quarantine wrestling era, we've seen from WWE's perspective a greater shift on letting the women be both entertaining and athletic, and not have to, with the exception of the karaoke from SmackDown a couple weeks ago, has been good to see in my estimation. So Raw was a good show. Overall, I think they're setting things up for SummerSlam. I was going to call it Survivor Series, but that's November. All in all, I'd say a B for wrestling this week so far. NXT, I haven't fully watched. I've just saw the women's match between Rhea and Dakota Kai. Chris, that's the match I would have suggested you watch. It actually was really good.
Is there a way I can and check it out?
I'll look through the interwebs and send you some YouTube videos, at least the highlights of it.
Okay.
I think that was a pretty good match, probably the best match of the week so far that I've seen. But I know before we get out of here, you wanted to talk about one specific thing, and that is when wrestling transcends wrestling and impacts you in a bigger way. Mike, I believe you were the one that said it's the 30th anniversary of Ron Simmons.
yeah. So, Chris, I sent you a couple of links.
And I will not
Just-
play it because I want us to be able to put this show on YouTube. Which the first episode's gone. But thank you for your copyright infringement.
Yeah, no worries. But yes, the on the 2nd was Ron Simmons' anniversary of winning the WCW World Title.
30th.
Yeah.
Mhm. And,
It
and,
was-
and I watched it when you put it in the chat the first time.
And not just by any, he won it from Vader, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he won it.
Mhm.
He won it by Vader.
Vader's, to me, still was a huge deal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
Like no one could beat Vader. I mean, you look at him, he's like, man, that dude's gonna kick your ass. You know what I mean? But of
Mastodon.
course, the
one of the best
impact on this.
entrances, by the way.
Yes, the impact on this, by the way, though, Chris, is that this is the first time that a major promotion had a African American heavyweight champion.
Mhm.
And
Interesting.
like, if you go back and watch that video of when it happened, you want to talk, especially watching it like in today's climate, seeing everyone happy, you know, and just cheering, beyond belief that something historical just happened and unexpected
Hmm.
was amazing. That crowd was loud, and if you well, I sent you two different clips. The second one you should watch because in
I'll
that
watch them
clip,
both again.
yeah, and the second one, okay, they actually cut to a fan that ran from like the back to the very front rail
Mm-hmm.
when Ron Simmons won, and that dude, I mean, and he of course was also African American, and he was jumping up and down like crazy. Like one of his guys actually won the title, and they cut to him. He's actually crying.
Hmm.
Like this dude is crying, and you want to talk about impactful, man? That was huge right there. And I can think of like, other impactful moments that I've had, like when there's been a big title change or something like that, where it just like really gets me emotionally. Like
Hmm.
it touches your emotion right there. Like I'd like to hear maybe some of y'all's similar experiences like that. Anyone?
For context, while they're thinking,
Yeah.
No, I wasn't watching. I saw Vader, like some of his action from the 80s and 90s. I believe that's the era, back in the day, and how he was presented, which was really good. But Ron Simmons, I look at him and I think Farouk, right?
Yes.
That's
Like
Farouk. Yeah.
yeah. I see his WWE character.
Mhm.
How was he presented before that moment? Was this like
He
a
was
jobber just suddenly won
no,
against Vader, or
Ooh.
was
no,
he
no,
built
no,
up
not at all.
as
No,
like
he
a
was a
No, he
superstar
powerhouse.
was strong.
throughout? Because
No, no,
again,
no.
I'm just looking at it as like I see a shirtless dude against a guy in a mask, and I don't know the context of it.
Yeah, well, okay, so Ron Simmons, like prior to him coming to WWF, he was touted as like, he was Florida State All American. His
Mm-hmm.
jersey was retired at Florida State. He was a legit athlete, and like they pushed him as such.
Gotcha.
He was already tag team champion with Doom.
Hmm.
Okay, with his partner Butch Reed. Okay, and they were a badass team too. Like so he was already an established star
Okay,
like
I
with
gotcha.
with Doom and all that stuff. So like he was known. If you had watched WCW during that time, you knew who Ron Simmons was. He wasn't just
Good, good,
somebody
good.
out of nowhere or whatever. But here the story and then the whole thing is explained to you in the second link I sent you. But
Mhm.
the setup to this was this took place like at a house show that was having matches
Mm-hmm.
taped for WCW Saturday Night, which was their weekly 6:05 show. Like just like your normal like Shotgun Saturday Night, right? It wasn't even like this was before Nitro. This was let's see, right before Raw started. So this was you still had Wrestling Weekly, right? Your regular like 1 hour generic show. And so the setup to this is that Sting got attacked, who was supposed to face Vader that night at this house show for the world title. Jake Roberts debuted and attacked Sting. So that took Sting out of the title match. So they brought out like the top 8 contenders and put their names in a hat, okay, and had this thing where you know the announcer drew the number one contender for that night, and he literally drew out Ron Simmons' name, you know, and then the match happened, and then lo and behold, out of nowhere, he won the title. So like all of that was unexpected. All of that was like
Inspired.
inspiring. All
Yeah.
that stuff. Like no one saw that coming, right? They that is that house show. Like oh okay,
A very stiff match, by the way.
oh yeah go out and hit, Vader.
They beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah, Vader threw some punches.
Yeah. Well,
like
and then Ron Simmons, he throws punches too.
oh yeah
He prefers to. He
yeah
wants to get hit. He wants to hit. So
yeah oh yeah. No, that was it's what it's what they call stiff. It's
yeah.
very good. So, um, I mean, yeah, man, like that. that was,
Yeah.
I definitely recommend going back and watching those.
And then speaking about stiff, it's not a word that Beltran knows anymore in his age.
He has pills for that. Don't you worry. Carlitos, Jesse, do you guys have a moment like that in wrestling that caught you beyond just wrestling?
I have a few of them. Both of them involve Bret Hart because I'm a mark.
Break the bitter man heart.
The bitter man. Hey, I mean, I always tell people if I was in Bret Hart's shoes, I'd be fucking bitter too.
He had some sunny days also.
Oh man.
Sunny.
Jeez.
Okay. Anywho, no, I remember watching WrestleMania 13. My favorite match of all time, between my two favorite wrestlers, is Austin and Bret. I remember watching. I mean, I was really, really young, right? And I didn't. By the way, I was like behind on it, so I didn't watch it like as it was live. But I did. That was like my first time watching it. I didn't hear any like spoilers or whatever. And I remember going into that match wanting Bret Hart to just beat the living crap out of Austin because Austin was being a dick. You know, I thought he was. I was a kid, right? I thought Austin was just being like just insufferable, and I'm like, you deserve. Bret Hart's gonna like just show you up. He's just gonna like beat the crap out of you. You're gonna get what you deserve. You're gonna get embarrassed, and that's what you get. In the middle of the match, you see Bret, laying it on real thick, and Austin just won't give up. Austin, he's not like being tough to be a dick. He's being tough because that's what he thinks he needs to do, to be at the top.
Because that's who he is.
Yeah. And then when you see Austin, for as much trash as he talks, for as dickish as he can be, at the end of the day, he's the real deal. And no matter what Bret does to him, like he just won't go down. He won't stay down. And as the crowd wants him to win so bad because he's having like a Rocky moment. like a in real life Rocky moment, so to speak, because people are like, now we want Austin to win because he's hanging in there with a guy who in storyline is above his league. And by the end of the match, I think you guys both know the double turn. By the end of the match, people were cheering Austin and booing Bret, and Bret won.
Yeah,
that was a very good match. And
I was like, as a kid, I'm just like, man, like it really made me a big fan of Austin, as not just like, when I was a kid, it's not just about being a performer. I thought he was just a douche. So it made me actually like him. I'm like, I can't dislike a guy who has that kind of a spirit, no matter how much of an asshole he's acting. And that's why I'm friends with Carlos.
Yeah. And by the way, adding on to that match is probably one of the most powerful images in wrestling is when Austin sharpshooter and he's like bleeding to death. And that's one of the most amazing images ever.
And he still didn't tap. And the only
didn't
reason
submit,
he
didn't tap.
The only reason he lost is because they called it.
Yeah,
Ken Shamrock was the referee, by the way, Chris.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go out and check. I'm gonna check this match after we go out the air.
Yeah.
I love that match, Chris. I can't remember. That's my favorite match of all time.
It's really a good one.
Adding to that match is well, Stone Cold. First of all, he was like you said, the dick. He's talking shit. He's doing this and that. He's the bad guy. Bret Hart is at this point. He's like the entitled, spoiled kid kind of. That's what it felt like. But we were still cheering him because it's Bret Hart, right? We've been cheering him forever. And at that time, it's like, let's say like Stone Cold is, first of all, he's awesome, right? But he's low tier compared to Bret Hart. It's still Bret Hart. And Bret Hart is top tier.
He's under leveled.
And he perfect him around. And he's still going at it. And he's still doing this. And everybody knows that Bret Hart is the better wrestler at that point. And we already know, this is what happened. But Bret Hart is still being... Now Bret Hart's the dick because he's rubbing in your face that he's so much better than you. And, Stone Cold's not going to quit.
But what I really loved about the match is that both wrestlers told you what was going to happen before the match started. Bret said, I'm going to do everything to you. I'm going to show you what a real wrestler does. Like, I'm going to show you how out of your league you are. And he did exactly that, but like people didn't really realize how much of a dick he was being until you actually saw him do it, and you're just like, dude, like chill. You're better than him. We get it.
Yeah,
it was cool.
But that image of Stone Cold bleeding, that should be. I need that picture framed and put in my game room.
Yeah, dude. So,
I actually have that as a comic strip, drawn as a comic strip. So you have Austin's comic face bleeding as if it was in the Sunday Funnies, and I actually have that in my portfolio. I love that picture.
Nice.
For me, I'm gonna end with two things. I'm gonna say Kofi Kingston winning the WWE Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania meant a lot because as Ron Simmons was the first African American heavyweight champion for a major promotion, Kofi Kingston was the first African American man to win the WWE Heavyweight Championship after being in the company as long as Dolph Ziggler had been in the company, getting a title shot, working with Daniel Bryan, winning the title, and then the joy. When we say joy, there was absolute joy in the stands, in the bars, people watching it at home, people crying. There's this video of the late Shad Gaspard and MVP crying in a bar, seeing Kofi Kingston win the title. And I think for me, the other day, I saw it again. It gave me chills. It gave me chills. I didn't know what to do. I was watching it live and I was just happy. But then watching it again a year later, a year and a half later, still the same feeling. So when you have these cultural relevant events, even though it's the scripted world of professional wrestling, and you have these moments where now we're talking about it on a podcast and we can relive these moments, that's what makes it worth it. Now, for me, that's a big picture thing. The thing that brought me back to professional wrestling when I took a long hiatus was when I saw Shinsuke Nakamura wrestle Sami Zayn at Takeover. Now, if you don't know Shinsuke Nakamura,
great match.
This was your first time seeing him, he is the living embodiment of a King of Fighters character come to life. That is the best way I could describe him. And watching him work this match with the pageantry, his rock star attitude, the androgynous behavior of Shinsuke. If you haven't seen it before and you're an American fan because he came from New Japan, who is this guy? Why do I want to get to know him? Right then and there, I realized, holy crap, I'm back. And here we are now talking about this here on Nerd Side of the Ring.
Yeah, I also still get chills when I see the Ron Simmons footage. Like I legit get chills when I see it. And like that's really, right there with you. With the same with the Kofi thing. Oh, so good. It's so good.
Well, I know we're running low on time, and I really don't like if I were to add my 2 cents into this type of thing, it really wouldn't be. I don't have enough experience to really add something. So I'll talk about like I want to talk about like last night's event and how like this is what's bringing me back to wrestling is I really enjoyed watching wrestling with everybody I'm talking to right now. I enjoyed watching it in public. I enjoyed being able to skirt over to Street Fighter and have a little wrestling style match just for giggles and doing promos afterwards. What did you guys think about last night at Free Play Richardson and the coming weeks at Free Play Richardson?
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Wrestling,
Big thumbs up.
Arcade, the beer, they all go well together. Watching wrestling makes the beer taste better. Being people on Super Turbo makes the beer taste better. And then when you combine those, the beer is awesome. So money's gonna be spent.
So what was your idea, Carlos, to get NXT going?
Oh yeah, well.
I mean, it's not gonna matter next week, but
yeah. Well, I was saying like we can just do a little projector into that wall by the booth, and after the show's over, we can watch the recording of the other show that we didn't watch, and play right there. And I can put the boombox and we can turn the volume low. By the way, I don't want to break the machines next to us, and then watch whatever.
For the time being, I know the powers that be at Free Play Richardson are going to consult the ownership and see if we can figure out a way to do it back to back. That would work for simultaneously watching both. But if we can do it back to back, that'd probably be ideal given our time frame that we can go till exactly 11. That would give us exactly enough time to watch them back to back.
Yeah.
All in all, I think it was a good first night out for Wrestling Wednesdays, Chris. I think we all did a phenomenal job. The promos after closing were great. Mike cutting a promo, Tiger Lily cutting a promo, Cloud cutting a promo. Yeah, we need more promos from free play people. I think that's a good way to get people in the door while saying brother, brother 400 times in a promo.
Let
It's
me
also
tell you
fun.
something,
It's
brother.
that highlights what we do well, which is like we're friends. Like
Mhm.
we're a friendly group, and we like to just clown around with each other and do each other's things. Like wrestling's not my thing, right? This is getting me into wrestling, watching it so that I can be a part of this conversation with you
And then,
guys.
Beltran wants to do a reenactment of the 1998 Ultimate Warrior One Warrior Nation
One
promo.
Warrior Nation promo that lasted 5 years. Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Oh
what
man.
Beltran wants to do. That's his favorite faction, the One Warrior Nation.
A faction of one, literally one person. But overall, Chris, great job last night. I had a blast. I can speak for Sarah. She had a blast. I know we all had a blast. So let's keep it. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep making Wednesdays a place where free play faithful can show up, watch wrestling, play some turbo, and eat some good food and be part of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm down. Here's a picture I took from early in the night, and this doesn't reflect all the people that came through, but you can see everybody there watching wrestling or playing Super Turbo, or going back and forth, and I mean that's as good of a night as I've had in 2020, right there, and it involved all of my favorite things and all of you guys' favorite things, and it involved all of us, and that I hope to see you all again next Wednesday, and I hope to see like this grow along with the podcast going forward, because I think it's I don't know, it's something new to do on Wednesdays that will work.
I have a quick request, real quick.
Yes.
The background,
Mhm.
the picture is cool. I didn't know you were taking pictures. That's awesome. But the background where we have Carlito as the big boss man and the ultimate Beltran back there.
Mhm.
Is there a room there for me to? Can I pay Ian to post me as
Yeah.
the Repo Man?
No, you
Oh,
Oh
man.
God, Repo
you can make
Man.
him. You can make him the Brooklyn Brawler.
Please, no. Jerry is Brooklyn Brawler.
No, he shouldn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Somebody
dive
from
out.
this podcast sneak over to VGM Wednesdays and remind me, and
Dude.
we'll get with Ian and see if we can't make that
I
a
want to
bonus
be
track.
Repo Man back there.
'Cause
That's
this
what I
is-
want to be.
Y'all can make me Russo. I'm good with being
Dude,
Vince Russo.
I
We're
want to
gonna
be.
put you in the
I want to be
in the-
Glacier with the mask.
Oh my God.
Mike B is gonna be Renegade. Not
Renegade.
not
Oh
Warrior.
my
Renegade.
God. Oh my
You don't get
God.
to be Warrior.
You know we're
Mike B-
over time, Chris. So I'm sorry for holding you up. I
Oh,
just
no,
want
no,
to thank
you're-
everybody for tuning in. Episode 3 of Nerds Out of the Ring. I can't wait to have everyone's picture up there now. Repo Man and Vince Russo and the Beverly Brothers. All of it's going to be combined. I love it.
Jesus.
But by the way, Bo guy still like rig the body mark, rig the bottle mark.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is the vote guy. Like, I don't know if you saw yesterday on VGM Wednesday, but we remade his LinkedIn profile with this picture and all appropriate inappropriate stuff to go with it.
Yeah, and then Beltran's still 1996 Ultimate Warrior.
The new Warrior.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
Triple H who? No sell.
Yeah,
Don't
no
sell that
sell.
shit.
No sell, brother.
Pedigree what? That doesn't work for me, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't help my hangover.
Oh my God.
All
Well,
right.
yeah, I got to get back to work.
Thank you guys. Yeah, next Wednesday we will be checking out NXT at Free Play Richardson and playing some games and defending some championships during the commercial break. So join us there, and next week Thursday at 1 p.m. we'll be here with Nerds Out of the Ring again, right?
Yeah.
We'll be here.
Awesome. This has been a lot of fun, guys.
It's fun.